to you from, I guess this is South Dakota now, isn't it?
The Black Hills
Black
of South
Hills,
Dakota.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, we're at the Fort Meade Historical Cemetery to do this installment of Live Life Abundant. And the reason that we decided that we would do a filming here is as we were walking through the cemetery, there were so many child markers. They say they were children, a lot of children here buried.
And actually we read in the museum that there was typhoid that went through, and that took a lot of them out, so that probably was responsible for a lot of these headstones. So.
And we know, today we wanted to talk about joy, and I suppose being in a cemetery talking about joy might seem diametrically opposed to each other, but many times when we face a crisis or a hardship like the death of a loved one, we fall into one or more of the big six emotions, which are sadness and shame, hopeless despair, disgust, fear, anger, and we might find ourselves stuck in that emotion with it seemingly with no ability to get out of that emotion, and we might self-medicate with addictive behavior, whether that be food addictions or drug addictions, alcohol addictions, sexual addictions, all kinds of addictions that kind of help us get through that crisis, but not really. The only thing that truly can help in a crisis is joy.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we've been trying to make the point all along is we can thrive or we can just survive, and a lot of those mechanisms that you were just describing are just surviving. And what we want to do is offer a way for thriving.
To thrive.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you have a book there that you were going to refer to.
Since probably about the mid-90s, Steve and I have been acquainted with Dr. Jim Wilder of Shepherd's House. And Shepherd's House, Dr. Jim Wilder himself and colleagues have written several books, and one of them is Living from the Heart Jesus Gave You. It's a life model, and in here he talks a lot about joy and building joy and living from a place of joy. And many times we equate joy with happiness, but that's not the case. Joy and happiness are not the same. We can have joy in the midst of our pain, in the midst of our sorrow, our shame, our despair, our disgust, our fear, our anger, because joy means that no matter what we are experiencing, we know that someone is still glad to be with us. Like my husband.
Yes,
Steve.
we're very glad.
He's very glad to be with me when I'm going through all different kinds of emotions.
And likewise myself. And that's a lot of that three-stranded cord as well.
Yes, it is. And even if we don't have someone here physically to be glad to be with us, we know that we have our Savior, Yeshua, who died and was resurrected on the third day and now sits at the right hand of Father Yahweh in heaven. He, if no one else, he is glad to be with us.
Well, and one of the scriptures that stated, he said, it's in Hebrews, it says that for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross. So there was something about him knowing that he was on a mission and that he was accomplishing that mission, that he had great joy in regard to that, even though he suffered greatly. And so if we can, we're not talking about, we're not trying to make this a religious experience for you or anything. What we're trying to really talk about is, in the middle of what life has for you, coming to that place where you can be, shall we say, unfazed by the circumstances, that you're getting the bird's eye view of what's really going on, and you're going, yeah, I can go through that because I can see that there is a greater good that's being brought out of the middle of that.
Yes.
I think that's what we're talking about. So.
And as research has gone on over this topic concerning joy, I think about Yeshua and his early growing up, how his mother and his father, his community, must have really built up his capacity for joy. We know that a child about 8 months of old, 8 months, yeah, 8 months of age, is the greatest opportunity to build their what we'll call a joy bucket. And if mom could hold her little baby and smile smile at that baby, and that baby smile back, and they take opportunities of engaging and resting for 8 to 10 hours a day, that baby would grow up with such a foundation of joy that addictive behaviors would be the farthest thing from its mind, because it would have the capacity to return to joy from any of those big six emotions. But sadly, there aren't too many of us who grew up in an environment like that, where mom was available for that extended period of time just to build our joy bucket. And so I know for myself, I struggle, well, actually struggled uh, with returning to joy from those emotions. But thankfully, through the work of Jim Wilder and Thrive and different places, you learn how to build your joy bucket. You learn how to get back to joy from any of those emotions. And what we wanted to share with you before we end this talk today, in this book, Living from the Heart, Jesus gave you, there are some building joy examples that you can do, things that you can do to help build joy in yourself, in your spouse, in your family, your children, friends, acquaintances. And one of the first thing, the easiest thing, I think, is to smile. to to smile whenever you greet those that you love, and use sincere voice tones. That is a great joy builder for yourself and for other people. Another one is
Makes people wonder what you're up to.
They're so happy. Another one is to ask questions and invite others to tell you truthfully how they are doing and what they are thinking, and to listen without interrupting. Number 3, take a sincere interest in really knowing the other person. Work hard to understand the other's fears, joys, passions, talents, and pain. And number 4 is treat each other with dignity and respect. When ending a discussion, try to make both people feel affirmed. And don't we really need that in today's climate, where there's so much division and animosity and polarization? We need to treat each other with dignity and respect. And use touch whenever appropriate. Hold hands, link arms, give hugs, and use physical connection as effectively as you can. Number 6, discover what brings the person joy, whether that be a time to talk, encouraging notes, a helping hand, evening walks. Custom fit your attempts to bring joy. And give them little surprises that will cause their eyes to light up, and let your eyes light up too.
Somebody once called that random acts of kindness.
Yeah.
That you just, there's no real good reason for it, but you just, hey, that'd be cool.
And joy builds as the glances go back and forth.
Right. Keep a straight face now.
Hard to do. And the last one is to cherish babies and children by establishing through words and actions that you are authentically glad to be with them. If there's one thing our world needs more of, is joy. So go practice a little joy today.
Yeah.
I wanted to give for this book, you can go to www.joystartshere.com. And Dr. Wilder has all kinds of books and resources there, and I would really encourage you to get this book and give it a read. It's got some amazing things in it. So,
and look around, find a beautiful spot, sit down, and just listen to the wind, listen to the birds. Just
build joy.
Build joy, yeah, and have shalom in your life.
Blessings.
Shalom for now. And by the way, stay tuned.